We are on OffSite Dirt, which is your construction news that encompasses technology, events, offsite solutions, high performance, and building science. We discuss different topics to educate our audience and allow this forum of communication to brighten the way that we build. Today, we have Brian Nickel with Allied Build It Better, and I'm super excited about his software and what he's doing to improve systems in offsite construction. Brian, how are you?
Good. How are you, Audree? Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. I would love our audience just to know a little bit more about you, the background of your company, how this all came about.
Absolutely. I'd say it's brief, but it's going to be just a few seconds here. But basically, I started working in a mom and pop plumbing and heating company back in 2014 up in Bozeman, Montana. My beautiful wife convinced me to move from Southern California up to Montana. So I moved there for architecture school and started working for the trades. And my business partner, Bob Harvey, he ran a very successful 35-year company for mechanical and plumbing. We did a lot of high-end residential construction. And one of our experiences was just the travel time and the lack of labor that we had in that company to produce more efficiently. And so what I did is I came in and I ran their BIM department, which is building information modeling. And we incorporated Revit. Bob pushed me to start teaching at the local college. So I became an instructor at Gallatin College. And now I'm an instructor at Montana State University's College of Engineering Technology. I've been doing that for 5 years in addition to our startup. And what we realized was we purchased a piece of equipment and we couldn't communicate very efficiently with our Revit model to the machine. It was an export to a CSV file. It was very frustrating. We felt like we were banging our head against a brick wall. And what we did is Allied was born in 2017, 2018. We started a software company that now allows us to digitally map our Revit models to machinery. So we can model to machine fabricate. And that's a little brief background on myself.
My gosh, that's amazing. And I think you're bringing in so many spectacular points of how construction is evolving. And obviously, BIM is one of the talking points that we all have been really learning about, building information modeling, and Revit as a architectural program that allows us to see things in 3D. Why is that so important to how we are communicating with our machines? And what are you seeing in the offsite construction world?
Yeah, so in the offsite construction world, I'm seeing a much more prevalent use of Revit than in the architectural space and even engineering space. What we're seeing is models that are being built more with a higher level of detail or development. And that gives us a better source of information that can actually translate information into machinery. So we're seeing across the US, modular companies start to build up BIM service providers or BIM service networks for those companies. And they're basically modeling their buildings the way that they would fabricate them in their shops. And so we're starting to see, rather than traditional tape measure pulling and traditional offsite construction with just zero automation, we're starting to see more machine automation come into the space. And it's really exciting. It's a super exciting time.
It is exciting. And you and I were speaking earlier. I'd love to have you tell our audience about your experience with traditional builds and what's happening on these sites and what you're seeing about construction materials and those specific things. Can you give us just a little background on your story about driving through neighborhoods?
Yeah, so here in Boise, Idaho, and across the US, my business partner came down and we were driving around. And one of the crazy things we like to do is just drive around a job site. And so we drove through a neighborhood, they're building $1.5, $2 million homes, and there's just piles of garbage in front of the yards, like piles of garbage. And what had come to mind was a statistic that we had learned from one of our business partners in the construction space, is that traditionally 40% of the materials that go into a traditional build with traditional zero automation, zero fabrication, it's all on-site build, is we're seeing about 40% of those materials go in the garbage can. And part of that's, lack of labor. It's less advanced labor that's being, tradesmen that are on site that are kind of getting new and, learning how to build basically on site. but it's a devastating statistic because, there was 200 plus houses with these giant, piles and mounds of trash in the front yard. And so the question is why are we doing that? And we have seen through the use of machines that we can actually reduce that down to less than 1%. And that's some critical savings.
I totally agree with you. And how are you seeing, so when you use Allied software, it's kind of like you're the air traffic controller for modular construction and fabrication when it comes to the machinery and exporting data. How have you seen using your software? How has it impacted your clients?
Yep. So we have clients that span from Hawaii to Florida and now down to South America as well. And we're globally reaching more as we kind of expand. But what we're really seeing is a increase in labor up to 8 times, or decrease in labor up to 8 times. So what that is basically traditionally in a lot of these shops, they'll produce 10 assembly drawings per day, just as a rough statistic. Just the manual way, out of Revit to paper drawings to their shop, zero automation. We're seeing these companies buy automated equipment, which are called linear positioning systems. So think of it as like a digital backstop or a digital tape measure that moves computer numerically. And once they incorporate that and they start connecting the model information to those machines, we're starting to see an increase in productivity up to 8 times. So we can go from 10 assembly drawings to 80. And we've seen this in Washington, we've seen this in Hawaii, we've seen this in Florida. It's not just us that's seeing it, it's our customers that are seeing it. And part of that is being able to allow the computer to dynamically optimize and organize the materials before it's produced to go to the job site. So we're actually nesting things in to utilize the most material yield that we're cutting, as opposed to just frivolously cutting off of our head. We're not as smart as the computer, unfortunately, in terms of organizing. So that's what we're starting to see.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, we are human, so we are multitasking all the time. We're getting disrupted. We are trying to answer calls. Many people are doing 3 to 4 times the amount of work and job. So how can we not, I mean, I don't know anybody that can humanly handle all of the challenges that we are faced. So why not use a system that can at least check things and help you to be more streamlined and create more profit because you're having more savings. You know, it's interesting. We were talking about something as little as generating labels.
Yep.
So tell me about that story with your company, why that
Yep.
was so important.
So we purchased one of these linear positioning systems. It's really quite simple. It connects to a semi-automatic saw. So you still manually have to chop. But as you're chopping the material, it prints out a label. From our experience in setting up what's out of the box and on the market today, it takes anywhere from 8 hours to 48 hours to configure the label and to configure the data that you're transferring into that machine in order to get the correct label output. Bear in mind, it also doesn't have like a QR code, so there's no intelligence behind the label with the exception of just data that's put in. It's going to spit data that it spits out. And so what we've done is we've been able to map the model information to these machines to where we can get a QR code, we can start to track status, we can start to get more intelligence out of what we're producing. It eliminates the 40 flavors of Sharpie. We're seeing a lot of people, burn through Sharpie pens, and having to write all that information on your material is eliminated with these labels. We're even insofar as getting inkjet systems put into place on these machines so that we don't have to peel and stick a label anymore. And so I think, moving forward, it's going to become, we've seen RFID chips, we've seen a lot of better technology come out, but the reality is the QR code right now, it's on a label. It's powerful. It's super powerful.
Yeah, and being able to track all that information and being able to pull a report and then be able to know where your costs are going and to be able to measure those things, that's what gives us the visibility and the accessibility to know how to grow our business.
Yeah.
And to also be able to report that information to our clients so that we can help them.
Well, and being able to see a progress, like a progression of time on a project too. I mean, that's the most important thing is people are trying to do that with paper workflows to the shop, but there's nothing digitally tracking it. And so one of the questions I've been asking people is it's what is the point of modeling if we're not going to track that progression, right? That is the whole intent of us modeling a building for fabrication is that we can get kind of some insight into that schedule so we can optimize the schedule and build things quicker and more efficiently and less wastefully. So it's exciting time that we're in with the technology of the machines, and it's only going to get greater in the next couple of years here. So.
So what do we see happening for Allied in the next 5 years? Where are you guys going to expand and what do you see as trends in the marketplace?
Yeah, so if you're familiar with like Building Connected is a platform by Autodesk that allows general contractors to basically bid out their materials with other subcontractors. It allows them to kind of pre-vet who's going to be working on their projects. We see the same vision for fabrication shops nationally. So we like to call this our 2030 vision. We're about 7 years away from that, but the reality is I see Allied becoming very similar to Amazon in terms of having fabrication shops nationally, where if your shop's inundated with work and you can't get it done, you could pass some of that work to a, alliance partner in different states to be able to produce the material maybe more geographically friendly to your job site, or even, equipping them with suppliers, like getting suppliers to think of it a lot like an Amazon distribution facility for fabrication. That's essentially where the direction that we're headed.
I love that. I love that you guys have a 2030 vision. I think that you are definitely evolving. I love that you're starting to pay attention to all these small areas and being able to do as simple as a label and being able to have that ability changes our workflow process and our efficiencies.
Mhm.
Makes me excited also to see that you're also thinking about the environment. You're thinking
Yes.
about how can we work together to have a greener planet? Because as we all know, there's so much destruction. And like you were saying, 40% of construction or 40% of materials in the landfill come from construction. So anything
Yep.
we can do to help is a
Yep.
big win.
Yeah, and you can definitely capitalize on those material savings too. I mean, if you think about throwing away 40% of job to job, it stacks up quickly. If you're an $8 billion a year, or $10 billion a year, or even an $8 million a year company, just do the math of 40% of your materials going into the can. Like, I see a lot of people aggregating those material savings and pumping it in to equip their fleet so they can produce more and sustainably reduce, less waste. So there's some benefits to reducing that waste because we're no longer just throwing money in the trash. We're recycling that material through our operations, which will
Yeah, and
be
we're improving our systems, and then we're also improving our labor source.
exactly.
What we were talking about is, being able to train someone to have the
Yep.
confidence using technology to be a part of a larger focus for building. And that's a big deal because, not everybody wants to get in construction because construction's so manual, it's so hard,
Yep.
there's so much, I mean, literally your body after a certain
Yep.
age can't keep performing at the level when you're 20 years old, right? I mean, it's just common sense. So it's nice to see that you're evolving and we're welcoming in more people. We want them to be more trained. We want them to have a satisfying job and being able to work indoors and not have to deal with the elements outside.
That's one of the primary reasons I've been educating at Montana State University and even Gallatin College. It's been incredible to me to run a survey across my classes of how many people have heard about the trades or know about the trades. With construction engineering technology, they know about it because they have family members that are in the construction space, but they're also heavily interested in the technology that drives their day-to-day work because they know from their family members' experience how rigorous this industry is. And so with construction engineering technology and the machines that we're getting and the software, and it's a very exciting time to live in this space. And we're accelerating very quickly. And just taking that poll from the students and being able to kind of gauge their reactions to inform some of what we're doing with our software has been incredible and pivotal. It's very helpful. It's exciting. It's also scary that not a lot of people know about the trades in the community colleges. Like, that's one thing I've been a heavy advocate for, is just pathways beyond education, whether that's a trade, whether that's a 4-year degree. It's been exciting to see how many people are actually exploring the trades now because of that.
It's funny that you say that, because on OffSite Dirt, we have talked to shop class teachers.
Yep.
We talk to junior colleges. We talk to technical colleges now. And the coolest part about it are the teachers that are teaching, and the response and the gratification they get from these individuals, and the mindset of these individuals. I have a 20-year-old and a 25-year-old, and the biggest thing that they know is the technology on their phone and how quickly they can make it all happen, right?
Yep.
So now we've got these amazing minds that are coming in, and you get to be on the forefront to really show them what you're seeing in the evolution of how building is really coming in.
Yeah. And we're starting, that's the exciting part. We're starting to, I show them laser scanning technology. It blows their mind. I mean, they're just like, and we show them building information modeling, and we're living with like TikTok generation, Snapchat generation. Like, it's a 10-second to 30-second, really full focused attention span. And once you start kind of showing them the smorgasbord of technology that our space has, they really get excited, because they look at it and they kind of compare it to the Apple store, right? Like, it's their app store for construction. And that's one thing I'm really proud of with our software company, is that, we're encouraging that generation to really adopt this technology with the older generation that's in the process of building as well, because they understand that talent is what's emerging, and that's what's going to be reliant on production for these facilities, is having people that can run the technology and having people that support that 2030 vision. So
it's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for telling us your story on OffSite Dirt. I love that Allied is out there changing the way that we look at construction, fabrication, building modeling, or building information modeling, and really changing from moving from paper into technology, which we all should be doing. Brian, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close?
I'll add one more thing, is the model to machine space has been around for quite some time. I mean, NASA and JPL went model to machine in the 1980s, and we're in 2023 and we're still building buildings off of paper drawings. It's time to change that mentality. It's like, the question is, why are we modeling, and what is that purpose for? To some people, it's plan generation. To our space, especially in the modular construction or offsite space, we're seeing models being built to build from. And I just want people to think about that, because it's quite interesting in the automotive space and the aerospace industry. They've been doing it for years. I mean, look at Ford till now. We need to start bringing some of that into our mindset, and I can't do it by myself. That's why I like to participate in these things. And thank you, Audrey, for having me. I really appreciate it.
I love it. I think that you've covered so much, and you're giving us such food for thought, not only just from the employee standpoint, the labor standpoint, students and construction materials, but also data and machines, and the collaboration of what you have created. I can't wait to see your vision grow bigger for 2030, and I cannot wait for others to explore what Allied could do for them. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for OffSite Dirt. Now we have another offsite solution that can really help your company. Please check it out. Please go to Allied and figure out if this is something that can really help you, because all the benefits are here. It's proven. We just love to see it take place with your company. Have a great day, and thank you for being on OffSite Dirt.